to say is that's why God sent down the Quran, and He said the Quran is going to be preserved and no more misinformation from Satan, because God is going to protect it. And now, what? Back to your question.
Yeah,
The
please.
reason how we know which verse from the Bible is true or not is whatever goes with what the Quran says. We have to take the Quran as like a base point. So whatever the Quran says, and the Bible and the Quran has a similarity in that verse, we can see
Okay,
the
so
truth
if it
in it
agrees with
because
the
the Quran
Quran,
says it.
if it agrees with the
Right,
Quran, it's true, but if it disagrees, it's
right.
Satan.
But we believe that because ultimately we believe the Quran is the word of God.
Okay, how do you come to that
That's why.
conclusion?
Because we come to that conclusion because when God created mankind, right?
Mm-hmm.
He gave mankind his scriptures and his religion. Mankind, there was given the scriptures from God, and the prophets, right, were told to give the
How do we know it's
revelation to
from
the people.
God, though? How do we know these scriptures are true and some people just didn't write it down? And Muhammad didn't write it down and he lied about
There's
being
prophecies,
illiterate.
right. There's prophecies in the Quran. There's
Okay,
things
sure,
that are
name one.
mentioned in the Quran that was not ever known until the modern period.
Okay,
For
go ahead.
example, how do I word this? The progression of an embryo, the way the embryo was made, the Quran literally states how it was made.
Actually gets it
And back then,
completely wrong. I get where you're coming from, but it actually gets it completely wrong. Listen, I've discussed this many times and I'll actually quote it word for word. It says that the bones in the womb are created before flesh and muscle, which goes completely against modern embryology, where they form alongside each other. Bones, muscle, and flesh form alongside each other. Bones are not formed first. The Quran says that Allah made bones and then He clothed them with flesh and muscle. So that goes against embryology. Embryology says they form alongside each other, not one is formed first. They completely go 100% at the same exact time, form alongside each other.
we believe whatever God said, that's what happened. So whatever the modern science are saying right now, if it's true, okay, so be it. But I don't have
So
evidence
be
of
it.
that. So if you can provide, no, I'm saying what I'm trying to say is ultimately, if you can show evidence,
Yeah,
then
you can
sure,
just
let me
look it
see.
up. You can just say, you go on Google and just say, in the womb are bones formed before flesh and muscle, or do they form alongside each other? It'll word for word say, no,
Okay, wait, let
bones,
me go
flesh,
on it.
and I'll look it up too, just as fact checking. Okay.
Yeah.
And you can just look up what I look up.
Bones made first in the embryo or in
Yeah,
the
hold
womb.
up. In the womb, are bones created before flesh and muscle, or do they form alongside each other? And this is what it's giving me. Google AI overview. Bones and flesh and muscle form alongside each other in the womb from the exact same intel embryonic layers. They do not develop in separate consecutive stages. Instead, they grow as a highly interconnected system from the very beginning. The common origin of the first few weeks. During the first few weeks of pregnancy, the embryo forms three primary cellular middle layer called the mesoderm or the mesodome. I can't say that. Contains master cells responsible before building, or that are responsible for building the entire muscular skeletal system. So yes, these do form alongside each other. Now we can leave that behind and go back to it, but I want to clarify that the Quran gets that part wrong, but there's another one. The biggest thing that the Quran says, you can correct me on this, it talks about how the sun and moon orbit each other. Well, actually, over almost 300 years before that, actually in the BCs, so almost 1,000 years before that, certain scientists, when they first made certain types of telescopes, like glasses that could magnify, not actual telescopes, we can see that. So Muhammad wasn't the first one to see that, or the Quran wasn't. Actually, and plus that's completely false. The sun does not orbit the moon. We only orbit the sun. The sun does not orbit us any way, shape, or form, or the moon. They do not orbit each other. We only orbit the sun. Another common one is the strike on the moon. That's not even correct. When we look at the moon, that's not even completely right, but there is a small line. But that's been spotted many, many hundreds of years before it was even written down in the Quran or given us by God. Another popular one, so those are three things that the Quran preaches that are false or that were already discovered 1,000 years beforehand. Another thing, so those prophecies are false. Another one, the Quran says, I'm gonna go to one more. This is the last one I'm gonna go to. The Quran says that law placed between two seas, one fresh and sweet, and the other one salty and bitter, a barrier prohibiting them from mixing. That's not true. Salt water and fresh water do mix. They just take time. And plus, there's no such a thing as a freshwater sea. It says two seas, one fresh. There's no such a thing as a fresh water sea on the surface of the earth. Those are underground, and we haven't even found underground sea things till almost 1,000 years after that was written down or given us by Allah. So you can actually go to that. Actually, we know this because the Amazon River slowly mixes with the Atlantic, and it makes a brackish color. And another one is the Gulf of Alaska, which is mostly fresh water, but the icebergs melting into it are fresh, but there's also a crap ton of salt water in the Gulf of Alaska. You can go into it, and if you drink out of it, you'll taste a little bit of saltiness, even if you're on the coastline. So those are four things that the Quran gets wrong. Embryology, two things about the solar system. It talks about the sun and the moon orbiting each other. No, we orbit the sun. This not the other way around. And it talks about the line on the moon, which was discovered almost 1,000 years beforehand by many other people across the globe. And then it talks about two seas, which there's no such a thing as a freshwater sea on the surface of the ocean. And yes, freshwater and saltwater do mix.
That was a lot to take in.
But those are four things that he gets wrong.
One sec. Okay. I don't even know where to begin.
Oh wait, there is one more thing. Now you please don't get mad at me for when I say this, but the Quran's the most untrue thing in the Quran says that Muhammad's a perfect example. That can't be true if he had sex with a 9-year-old. If he's a perfect example and you're supposed to follow in his footsteps, then you need to do that. Also, a few people stole donkeys from Muhammad because they were trying to escape him, and he tied them down on their stomachs in a starfish position, cut off their right hand and their left foot, and vice versa. And then he grabbed hot nails and he branded the eyes and he left them there to die. And you want to know the crazy thing? Muhammad stole those camels before his people stole those camels from him. And Muhammad didn't get punished. It's a lot of contradictory hypocrites. So those are 5 things that the Quran gets wrong. Completely wrong. Like, I'm not trying to bash on you. I'm just trying to pull out certain things that are written down that are not true.
Okay. Let me say one thing, okay? When I joined your room, can you just remind me what your title was?
Jesus is God, Christian smoke, 21 plus, Mary is sinless.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay, I came to your room not as a scholar or anything. So all the stuff you mentioned to me, to be honest with you, I can't back it because I don't know.
I mean, you can just look it up. I'm not a scholar either. This is just multiple years of research, trials and errors, getting lied to by Muslims. The Quran literally tells its followers, if they need to lie to infidels, which are Christians and Jews, to lie to them. Like, I'm not trying to bash on you. Actually, I have way smarter friends who are like Royal SFC, NTA, Solo, Sean X Topper, Space Monkey. These people are way smarter on this than me, and you can talk with them. And now that I have you as a friend, once they hop online, you just be on around 12 tonight, like 12 p.m. tonight or 11 p.m. If Royal opens up his room and I see you online, I'll invite you into the room and you can discuss with them, and he can actually pull up these things on his desktop. I'm not, like, once again, I'm not trying to bash you, but
No,
I've been doing, yes, these are just trials and errors that we study.
Yeah.
The Quran.
Yeah, I only got a bit aggravated when I saw the video. That's it. But to answer, to be honest with you, all of those 5 questions you asked me, I don't know the answer.
Five premises.
Right.